Guys in the Gulf.
Right, do you want to do introductions or you want to do introductions?
You can do introductions, mate.
Righto. Well, guys, welcome back to episode 2 of Guys in the Golf podcast.
It's good to be back.
See, it is good to be back, mate. Pretty excited after our first episode. Went really well.
Yeah, there was definitely a few nerves there, and you can tell when we watched it back that, the start we started a bit shaky, but by the end I think we had a good flow going. And
I think we're working it out anyway. I mean, we were obviously very excited about it. We went straight back to your place and did some editing and got it on the big screen and watched it back. So definitely learned a few lessons in there.
Yeah.
So some things that hopefully we won't do in the future. And but most of it overall was pretty good, I think. And so far, only a couple of people have listened to that first episode. It's not out just yet as we're here now. But a couple of people that have looked at it reckon it's pretty good. So hopefully, the listeners will enjoy it and subscribe. So, so what do you reckon, mate? What have you been up to?
What have I been up to? Oh, not too much this week. Went out fishing once. Did not go very well. I fished pretty hard. Did lure fishing, bait fishing, flicking lures and trolling. But just got the one barra, and unfortunately it was a barracuda.
Well, that does happen sometimes, mate. What was the plan? Where'd you go to?
I went over towards the Twins and out the Crooked Creek.
Yeah.
Over at the Twins, and I started over there. The water was really dirty, and the water was pumping out.
Yeah.
I had planned on getting myself locked in there, because once that tide goes down low there, you are stuck there.
Yeah.
And that was the plan, but after half an hour of being there, I was just not feeling it, so I quickly zipped out before the tide got too low, and then came back in the Crooked.
And did you just stay at the front of the Twins, or did you go up into the...
I didn't, just because the tide was dropping, and when I've found in the past when I've gone at that really low tides, when I go up the top, I haven't really done well up there. But you can get a long way up there. You and I have done it.
Yeah, you can go for miles and miles up there. Actually, we got some really good drone footage up there.
Yeah, some of my favourite drone footage ever. Yeah, it was your drone, and you had it in that aeroplane mode where when you turn left and right, it does that. And the top-down shots, and it's like the punt drifts. It's like a drift boat. Yeah, it does. It slides around them corners. If you got to keep on top of it. But you get right up the top there. I think I've been up there years ago. I did a charter with a bloke, and like I said last, I didn't do a whole lot of barra fishing in charters because I mostly focused on out around the islands. But one day, one fellow was real keen on getting a barra, and I took him over there. It just happened to be half decent tides for it. So, and we went right up there, and then there's a little corner. I think it's actually a corner you showed me when you were in the houseboat over there for a while with Jazzy. Yeah.
Years and years ago.
And that corner is my dad showed me that corner.
Yeah. And and we got old mate got his first barra there, so he'd never caught a barra before in his life, or never caught a decent fish before in his life, and all he wanted to do for his trip was catch a barra, and he'd been to Darwin and everywhere else, and hadn't had any luck at all. So went up there and just on a live bait, live mullet, right on that corner you showed me, straight in, and it was a good barra too. It was like in the 80s or something.
Nice.
So it is a good spot over there. And I know out the front there, that's one of my favourite spots out the front, around the little island at the front there.
Just in the mouth. Yeah,
especially as that water's dropping out. If you get there at the right, if you've got a good tide for it, you get there at a high tide, and then as the water's just starting to come out of the mangroves there a bit, the barras sometimes are just buffing all along that edge. And you can absolutely clean up there. I've got some really good barras along there, and get some good threadies and dewies there as well. You get them all in the same spot. Actually, I think you and I were over there.
Yeah, that wasn't too long ago. I reckon even just last year that was.
Yeah, you got a good dewy.
Yeah, I remember it bricked me around like some sticks and that. I turned down and I got it out. Yeah, it ended up going out and we landed it. Yeah.
And there was a couple of we had some the peanut gallery there as well. Spectators over the back watching, but you got a good dewy. I think is that the day we got a good thready in the channel out the front as well.
Yeah, we trolled out there and we were just talking about threadies, going, a thready would be nice, wouldn't it? And then you're like, come on.
So you got all three that day, which like you don't get a lot of threadies here compared to, and like people that are listening that have been here and caught plenty of threadies always say, well, you do get plenty of threadies, but compared to like the mouth of the Daily or
Shady Camp, I've never experienced it, but I've seen the sounder photos and that, and even talking to barra operators out there, they get frustrated catching these metre-long threadies just to try and, like, they catch 15 of them to try and find one barra, you know?
So we don't get them like, we do get them, but not like that.
That's a good problem to have though, isn't it?
Catching too many good fish, because they're not bad on the chew. too. But he actually, I don't know, was it your old man or might have been, somebody showed me a way to do threadies which I hadn't done before, where, because they are sort of known to be fairly hard to fillet, especially if you haven't filleted a lot of fish, because they've got those big knobs in their spine, they're big round pieces of bone in there. So if you just run the knife straight over the top of it and skin them, and then you just chop the head and tail off, and you actually cook the whole frame on the barbecue, a bit of salt and pepper. That's an excellent, really, really good feed. But I don't know if it was your old man or there was a barbecue here somewhere. Somebody showed me that trick, and I've done that a few times now. That's
it's
really
funny
good.
that meat on the bone is always best, and with steak and that, but it's no different with fish, I reckon, as well.
Yeah, well, that day we went out when we were on
the houseboat. Yeah, I remember it.
We were on the houseboat, and we had several boats there, and all the other guys had gone out, and you and I were pretty much having a quiet one, staying at home, having a few beers, and we ended up taking Flanders, your boat, out, and we got stuck into a heap of different stuff. We didn't go as far as the other guys, I don't think. We only stayed.
They went way out the top.
They went miles and miles out in the bigger boats, and we stayed in relatively close because there's a few storms around. But we got stuck into a few goldies and that.
Yeah, I reckon we brought one home. We called it like perfect lunch size. It was pretty little, but yeah, the fillets weren't enough for the two of us. So yeah, you thought, oh geez, I need to maximise this. So you got the frame on it. I remember you put like whatever we had on the boat. It was
like Italian herbs or something.
He drenched it and then cooked it on the barbecue, and oh man, that's the best fish I've ever eaten still to this day.
Yeah. No, that is.
It helps when you're really hungry.
Absolutely, yeah. That was a good trip, that one too. So. So one fishing trip, mate. Not the best turnout, but.
How about you? You've been on the water this week?
Yeah, well, just working, just crabbing still, nearly the end of the season. But went out this morning, did my run. Crabs still slowing down. It's about 50% female, 50% male crabs. A lot of older crabs and stuff at the moment, but. I did I got a little female crab in one of the crab pots this morning. I actually did a little video of it, which we might put up.
Snippet.
And it had actually a parasite in it. There's a little parasite. You did a TikTok, and I mentioned it in the video that I recorded. You did a TikTok last year with one of the boys up the coast, where they had a crab that was both male and female.
Yeah.
And I was explaining to them how that happens. It's from a parasite called Saculina, and so the crab I got in the crab pot this morning, only really small female. I actually did a video of it because it had that parasite, so I did a little video so people can see what that's about. So basically, what it is, it's a small shellfish, and it's almost microscopic, and it's got a. You can't it's tiny. You can't see it at all. But what happens is, as the crab's shedding its shell, and the shell's really soft. So obviously, crabs shed their shell. When they get bigger, and then the shell goes hard.
Yeah.
So for a short time, the shell's really, really soft. That's why you might have heard of soft shell crab or something at a restaurant before. So when it's really soft, the Saculina, the parasite, or the little barnacle, has actually got a beak on it, sort of like a mosquito, and it actually injects itself into the shell of the crab, and basically utilises the crab as a home for its offspring, and so it tricks the crab into thinking it's got a clutch of eggs.
Oh wow!
So and you can get it on both male and female crabs, and basically it wrecks them so they can't breed after that, and they won't eat much either. So and the idea is that basically it takes over their body and their mind, so they won't eat much, so that they don't grow too quick, so they don't change their shell, so this parasite can live as long as it possibly can. So if it's a male crab that they do it to, the actual flap on the male crab, which most people would know is a sort of a V shape, whereas the female crabs is sort of a U shape. The male crabs will actually turn female, or that flap will actually turn into like a female flap. It'll still have a pointy end on it like a male, but it'll be more of a U shape, and it'll actually and the reason they prefer to do it with the males is, which I just learned through reading, which I'll read a bit of this to you in a second, but I just learned through reading this, is that they prefer males because then the males are more protective or whatever, but it also attracts other males in when they don't have their male organs anymore. It attracts other males in.
Yeah.
And the idea is that so when other males come in close to it, then it'll let go all its eggs and then infect another crab. So
wow.
So yeah, so that actually. Yeah, so
just look at the video you showed me. So we've got footage from last year that we saw one, and that looked like a fairly clean one. So I'm guessing that was a male that would have been turned hermaphrodite or whatever.
Yeah.
This one that you showed me footage of just before we started the podcast today, it looks feral. Because
it's an old crab because it hasn't changed its shell. Like even though it's really small, it's an old crab, and that's as I again learned today, it'll actually stop them from eating. So they won't eat much. That way they don't grow so much. That way they don't need to change their shell as quick. That way the parasite can live there longer. So. But yeah, this article I found today on The Conversation, the website says, meet Saculina, a barnacle that makes a living as a real-life body snatcher of crabs. Unlike most barnacles that are happy to simply stick themselves to a rock and filter food from the water, Saculina and its kin have evolved to be parasitic, and they are horrifyingly good at it. The microscopic larva of Saculina seeks out an unsuspecting crab using specialised sensory organs. It then settles on a part of the crab where its armour is most vulnerable, usually on the membrane at the base of one of the crab's hair. So the larvae then transforms itself into a kind of living hypodermic syringe. This syringe stabs the base of the crab's hair and injects the next stage of the parasite, a microscopic blob called the vermigon, into the crab's bloodstream. This blob will eventually grow into a parasite that takes over the crab's entire body. The body of a fully mature Saculina is unrecognisable as a barnacle. It consists of a part called the interna, which looks more like the roots of a plant than an animal. Its tendrils spread throughout the crab's insides, and the only part of the parasite which is visible on the outside is the externa, the female reproductive organ which protrudes from the crab's abdomen.
Wow.
So that's where you can see. So when you look under the flap, that's actually the female part of it, which has got more eggs in it to get another clutch of eggs, and it actually tricks the crab into thinking it's got a clutch of eggs of its own, so it protects it. And then as the other male crabs come nearby, it releases more.
That's absolutely horrifying.
Yeah, so...
so it turns the crab into a zombie.
Yeah, more or less, yeah. So
it's like a... Yeah, it's like a little fella in there, like controlling it almost as a robot. You know, wow.
Yeah,
that's scary as hell.
Yeah, so that's just a bit of an interesting one for people that might not have seen it before. I know. We catch a lot of crabs here, and I don't see it that often.
Yeah.
Some places, so where that article is actually comes from the United States, and over there in the particular area they looked at about 30% of the population of crabs in that area actually were affected by it. So
30%.
Yeah, so it's quite
if it was like that here, so if we're allowed to keep female mudcrabs here, but if, just say you're in Queensland and you got pulled up by fisheries or whatever, and they had a look at your catch, like, what do you reckon they would say? Like,
well, I think you'd still have to look at that. You can still tell the difference of them because of the colour of the flap. So
that's what it was. So the one that you showed me the video just now, that was a female that's transitioned.
Yeah. So it's a dark. So it's not so much that it's transitioned. It's just that it's killed all of its reproductive organs. So it can't breed anymore.
Okay.
But what happens is when it gets a male and does that, it kills its reproductive organs. So then it's less masculine. So that way it grows that flap like a female. So.
Definitely less masculine, because that's the one from last year. I remember the claws were smaller like a female.
Yeah.
It still had the body. Yeah. Wow. It's crazy.
Yeah, so sometimes when you see that, that's what causes it anyway. So if you see that with a crab which looks like a male and a female, then that's what's happened to it. It's had that parasite, and it's actually it's killed its reproductive organs.
Yeah, rightio. All right, let's move on from zombie mud crabs. Something else I've been up to this week was being fairly busy on the computer as well. After the podcast last week, I've now got our YouTube channel. I've got Facebook page. We've also got a Patreon.
Yep. So people can start paying us some money. Come on.
Show us the money.
Yeah, and these episodes we'll put up on YouTube so people can actually watch the video of them, but we're going to endeavour to have it organised so that we can have it on all of the major streaming services.
Spotify and all the, that's
wherever
the plan.
You get podcasts from, hopefully, is where you'll be able to find it.
Yeah.
What else we got, mate? We've got a Facebook page.
Yeah.
We've got an email address now as well.
Yep. So people can email in anything. I was even thinking one down the track, it'd be good to people send us voice memos or anything.
Yeah, absolutely.
We can play them on the podcast if there's anything of interest. Yeah.
Yeah, any stories anyone's got, anyone's got a fishing yarn or something like that, or anything at all, or even questions. If something we're talking about, people want to, want an answer to a question they've got, then they can email it through, send us a voice memo.
Yeah.
If you've got a good yarn, send us a voice memo. Obviously, try and don't use a potato to record it. Try and use an iPhone or late model device to record it would be really handy.
What do you reckon with getting guests on? Maybe start those sort of episodes in January, or?
Yeah, well, we've got a few ideas lined up already, so it'll come down to availability for people. Obviously, this time
there's no one here at the moment.
This time of year, everyone's pretty quiet. So, but as soon as we can, get guests on. That'll be the plan. We'll get some guests on. We've got some really, really interesting people as well that I think people would like to hear from, probably a little bit more than us as well. So, that'll be good. Yeah. So. A couple other things that are happening at the moment is NT Rec Fishing Survey. So this is a survey for anyone that fishes recreationally for barramundi in the Northern Territory. It's organised, I think, mostly by AFAN, and you can find out all the details on afan.com.au.
And how often do they do this?
I'm not sure this particular survey. I don't know if this is the first one, but basically they're from my reading of it, they're trying to work out the best way forward for recreational fishing in the barramundi sector specifically, rather than not all rec fishing, but just specifically barramundi. AFAN obviously is the Amateur Fishermen's Association of the Northern Territory, so it's quite a prominent organisation, non-government organisation in the Territory. They do quite a lot of work around, well, obviously all their work's around rec fishing, but they do work very hard to look after everyone that, whether they're Territorians or visitors or whatever, they try really hard to make sure that, fishing's sustainable and fun for everyone. So
so the idea behind them is like they speak for everyone. Like they have a lot of pull. They can lobby the government, for example.
Absolutely.
Rather than just us as individuals going and speaking to our local member, AFAN speaks for the majority, sort of thing.
Yeah, so for example, like us, King Ash Bay Fishing Club, we are like a corporate member of AFAN, so we pay a small fee to them annually, and then we speak to them from time to time about things that are going on. If we've got issues around rec fishing here, we can speak to AFAN, and then they've got a direct line to ministers and things like that that can get things done. So, but at the moment they've got this survey going for rec barra fishing. It's currently being led by Huds and Howells in partnership with key stakeholders, including AFAN. This online survey seeks to gather insights on fishers' satisfaction, catch settings and administrative arrangements to help inform fisheries management. Your opinions matter greatly, and there are no right or wrong answers. Your individual responses will be kept confidential, combined with others for analysis. Thanks to Craig's Fishing Warehouse and AFAN, we have some great prizes on offer with those who complete the survey. You'll be eligible to win if you go and do that survey. So if you jump onto afan.com.au, you'll be able to have a look at that survey there, answer a few questions, and you could win some great prizes that have been donated by Craig's there. So that's one survey just specifically about barra, but there's also the Recreational Fishing Development Plan, which is a 10-year plan, has just come out. So this is a part of, a lot of surveys have been done over the last 12, 18 months or so. Basically, AFAN have had people out at boat ramps and fishing clubs and all over the place, interviewing people basically at boat ramps, asking them about all sorts of different things, their experiences fishing the Territory and things that could be better, things that, issues and whatever. So, they've just released this plan, and again, if you go to industry.nt.gov.au, you'll be able to have a look at the Recreational Fishing Development Plan, or you can just chuck it in Google. You'll be able to find it pretty easy.
Yeah, so this will be targeted for anyone that does, whether you fish every day or fish once a month, or your land-based fishing from boats.
Tour operators, everyone, commercial businesses like in tackle stores, accommodation providers.
And whether you live in Darwin or you live out remote.
This is for everyone. So it's
the more information they get, the more.
Yeah, so this plan is done now. It's actually out. So this
is the actual findings
of previous surveys and things. So this is
the actual plan. Yeah.
This is the plan going forward for the next 10 years for recreational fishing as a whole. So the previous one was just speaking about barramundi fishing in particular.
Yeah, okay.
This is recreational fishing development plan from 2023 to 2033. So so I'll just read you quickly from here. Recreational fishing is a huge part of the territory lifestyle, providing a wealth of social, cultural and wellbeing benefits and generating significant economic contributions to the territory economy. The Recreational Fishing Development Plan 2022 to 2033 has been developed in collaboration with industry to ensure the territory's recreational fishing sector will continue to successfully navigate changes, overcome challenges and create opportunities to deliver a strong and sustainable recreational fishing future. The comprehensive plan was developed in partnership with the Amateur Fishermen's Association, AFANT, the NTGFIA, which is the NT Guided Fishing Industries Association, and RFAC, which is the Recreational Fishing Advisory Committee, as well as recreational fishers and stakeholders from around the territory. Stakeholders were invited to have their say at each step of the innovative 12-month planning process, involving the input of hundreds of people and key organisations through interviews, workshops and submissions. This process has delivered a genuinely grassroots plan for fishers by fishers. The planning process revealed that the recreational fishing sector exists in a complex and dynamic environment where change is to be expected and prepared for. The plan articulates a vision for where we want recreational fishing to be in 10 years' time and sets a course of action to get there. The plan will be reviewed by RFAC, so that's the Recreational Fishing Advisory Committee, annually to ensure it remains current and focused on the needs, changes and challenges of the day. And at the moment, they've got a few things in there. So first of all was the development process, which has been done, then the 10-year vision. Desired outcomes will be shared understanding and access, diverse and abundant fish stocks, fishing opportunities for everyone, and a capable and confident sector, and then essential behaviours. So that's what they've got on their website there. There's quite a bit of information there. Anyone can go and have a look at that.
So that's just like the cover letter. It's probably like a 100-page document.
It'll be probably several hundred pages if you go into each actual point. But that just sort of gives a bit of an outline of what the idea of that is. So if anyone's interested in looking at that, it's quite important if you are into rec fishing, especially if you're involved in rec fishing as as part of your employment. So whether you're working at a fishing shop or own a fishing shop, if you're a tour guide or work, anything like that, it's fairly important that you get around that and have a look and see what the plans are.
It talked about how big the fishing industry, whether it's commercial or rec or anything, think of how big that is in the Northern Territory. If we could probably look on a website or something and see, it'd be one of the top sort of industries, because it's sort of encompassed with tourism as well.
Absolutely, yeah.
So it's a huge thing for the Northern Territory.
I think for sure.
And it's where we are here.
Here at 100%
crazy how many people we get through here. We get thousands of visitors a year driving through here. We were thinking about the other day, our boat ramp here might be one of the busiest boat ramps in the Northern Territory. The only one I can think of might be Dundee.
Yeah. Well, if you looked at it over if you looked at it over a 12-month period, maybe not quite. But if you looked at it from that sort of March through to November, then it'd have to be, because it doesn't matter what day it is of the week.
There's 150 people using that
at least, So we spread that out over a year. So if you looked at the average daily use for it per annum, I think we'd be right up there. We'd well and truly be right up there.
In the middle of nowhere, it's just...
Yeah, well, that's it. We're 1,000 k's from Darwin, 700 from Katherine, 1,000 k's from Mount Isa. So we're... right in the middle of nowhere. So but you're right. Fishing is it's a massive part of the Northern Territory economy, and not just the economy too. It's a part of our lifestyle. You think of the people. If you couldn't go fishing anywhere in the Territory, if you lived and worked in the Territory and you loved your fishing and you couldn't go fishing anywhere, what are you going to do? You're going to pack up and move back to Queensland or Western Australia or somewhere else where you can go and chase a few fish. So it's a massive part of our lifestyle, not just the economy, but our lifestyle as well. It's almost it's a part of our identity as Territorians. It's sort of catching your first barrow is like a rite of passage. Like it's just one of those.
While we're on this as well, this is just something I'm going to mention, and not as a political thing, but just mention that some people from down south coming up on their first trip, they might find this interesting. That a couple of things: we don't have boat registrations here, no boat licences for boats under.
No boat licence period for private use. Yeah.
What if you had a 15-metre boat?
No boat licence for private use. Yeah.
And that's like.
You can fact check me on that because I'm sure there'll be a limit at some stage, but more or less, if you've got a 40-foot flybridge cruise or something like that, there's no requirement for you to have any formal license or anything like that unless you're using it commercially. Obviously, once you start using vessels commercially, you need to have the appropriate qualifications there. But no blood alcohol limit on the water. No boat regos, no boat licensing, and
So if you're out there and you have 6 beers in the boat, they're not going to breathalyse you.
No, well, there's no facility for them to breathalyse you for no reason. However, and this is why, and the argument's been made plenty of times by people a lot smarter than I, that there's no real need for us to have blood alcohol limit for driving boats. Because what happens is obviously if you get in your car and you back your trail down the ramp and you've been drinking all day, you can get pinned straight away for DUI. If you're intoxicated or you're over the limit.
For sure.
But on the water, there's no real need to have a blood alcohol limit because if you have an accident, for example, and you injure somebody, okay, you're still liable. You're still liable, and if you're
still being reckless.
So if you've been drinking, then you can get a blood alcohol sample from the police could potentially take a blood alcohol sample from you, then you can be charged with dangerous driving of a motor vehicle or a vessel, or drink driving. Then causing harm, and that has happened in the past before. So basically, they make it pretty simple. Don't be an idiot. Don't carry on. Don't go out there and drink 6 bottles of rum and then fly around at night time when there's 200 other boats around, not knowing what you're doing. Be careful. You don't want to run up the bank and injure your mate. You don't want to run into somebody else and injure them.
And the good thing is, incidents, in my opinion, we certainly don't hear about many. There's a few a year, but that's the old thing about. I hate it when people try and fix problems that don't exist. So. Usually around every election year, I reckon, isn't it, that it comes up about,
It comes up,
People talk about, we need to bring it in line with the rest of Australia. It's like, we don't have a problem here. What problem are you trying to fix? We don't need to make a new rule for the sake of making rules.
And at the end of the day...
I said I wouldn't get political. Anyway.
But at the end of the day, if somebody's being an absolute clown, even here, if somebody's heavily or believed to be heavily intoxicated and they're operating a vessel in a dangerous manner, and you call the police have every right to go out there and pull that person up and go, hey, what are you doing? You're being an idiot. Come with us. And I believe you can still be charged with operating a vessel under the influence. However, there's no provision, I don't believe, for RBT type situations on the water. So there has to be a reason. So unless you're being an absolute goose, you're pretty safe to have a few beers, which is good because it means, especially here, where a lot of people, they park their boat, they're moored in the river or whatever like that, so they're not driving a motor vehicle or anything like that when they come back. So they can go out and they can have several beers on the river and not have to worry about, or be stressed about losing their licence for being 0.01 over the limit or whatever. So I think it's a good thing, and I think it should remain the same, just like my registration.
We've been known to go out from time to time and have a few beers on the water.
I only drink zeros, mate. What are you talking about?
Are you ready for one?
Yeah, mate, may as well get another one, eh?
Oh, that's a black one.
Oh, you can have that one. Normally I have every year I try and have at least 1 month off the beers, and I usually make it February because February is the shortest month. So, but I had 3 months off at the start of this year, and big plans coming up for early next year. So I'm behaving myself for a few months.
Talk about that a bit later.
Yeah, yep.
Yeah.
So fishing plans for this week, mate. What have we got going on?
I've been bugging you to come out fishing with me for a while now, and we had a bit of a chat the other day, and we've got a couple of spots we want to explore. What do you reckon?
Yeah, so over the next few days we're going to try and get out, and we'll speak about that next week, or next week's episode. Well, if we catch any fish anyway. Yeah. We'll let you know on the way, but we're going to try and get out, chase some barras, maybe some jacks and some coastal creeks.
Yeah, coastal creeks. This time of year, I reckon that's the go for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. And then, there's so many places here. Like, I've lived here, the vast majority of my life, and there's hundreds, thousands of creeks that I haven't been up. And
I was going to ask you in the last podcast when we were talking about you being a charter operator and a pro crabber now, and the amount of hours you've spent on the river and exploring up creeks trying to find crabs and all that, but there's still miles and miles.
You could really spend a lifetime here and still be able to go out and find new spots every day. Yeah. It's like you want to see the stat. If you went to a new beach in Australia every day, you'd be 26 years old by the time you completed every beach. It'd be something similar here for little creeks and things like that, I reckon, because it would take you many, many, many years of being on the water every day to go and check out every spot. Yeah. Especially there's 80 odd islands here. If you get around those islands and check out all those reefs and stuff as well, and all the little creeks that are around there, there's just so much country here, and it all fishes pretty good, everyone's got a time and place, but for the most part it all fishes pretty good. So we're going to get out the next couple of days and try and catch some barras, try and get a bit of videos. You're going to try and make a YouTube video for your channel, get
an episode going,
and we'll try and get a couple of snippets and stuff for this as well, and we'll show what we're up to. Try and hopefully get a barra. What do you reckon, mate?
Yeah, take my boat Flanders out.
Yep, we might even work it so, I might go because I think some of the places we were talking about going is going to be at high tide, which I need the high tide to go to work, so I might go early one day, because the way the tides work here, coming up, we've got some, basically the tide comes in and then it stays in for quite a long time.
Yeah, right.
So it means I'll be able to go to work earlier, a few hours earlier, get all my run done, get my crabs tied, everything like that packed up, and then be able to jump straight in the boat with you, and I might be able to meet you down the river somewhere, and jump in with you, and then go chase a barra.
That'll work.
See what we can do, mate. And
so with crabbing at high tide, so to put that in perspective for the listeners, like a lot of your pots will be at low tide. They'll be out of the water, or half out of the water?
Certainly earlier in the year, they can be, or pretty close to it. So they'll be right on the edge of the water, sort of thing. Out on the flats, they can come out of the water on a really, really low tide. So basically at high tide on those flats there, on a 2 metre tide, you've only, it's only sort of knee deep. I know you've been out helping me a few times, and you get out there and, you wouldn't sort of realise until you stop and actually have a look, and, and sometimes the water's quite dirty, but in clean water, it's a foot deep in some places. So
it's crazy.
So then that's why you got to work the high tide, otherwise you can't get up on the plane, and it'll just take you forever to check your crab pots. So we always check on the high tide so you can get up on the plane between pots.
So what if there's no high tide for the day? What if the high tide's at 2 a.m?
Oh, we just go at night time. Yeah, so pretty much, he's got to work when the high tide is. You just look at that tide chart, and some weeks is no different to mining or policing or anything like that, mate. So sometimes you got night shift, sometimes you got day shift. So for the vast majority of it, you can pick a tide that's early in the morning, late in the afternoon, or something like that. There are occasions though where there's no choice. There's only one high tide for the day, and that's 2 o'clock in the morning. So it means you got to leave at midnight and get back at 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning.
Oh, good.
So just no, it's all right though. It's actually quite enjoyable. Night times. The good thing about doing nighttime runs especially this time of year as it's cool. There's no other people around. There's, generally speaking, it's pretty calm. Sometimes, especially in the dry season, it gets quite rough, especially on the shallow flats.
Yeah.
So, working nights pretty good. Yeah, I actually don't mind it. Dodging turtles and sharks, and actually you've been with me a couple of times down seas. I've showed you those big tiger sharks and hammerheads that get up on those flats there. Yes.
Yeah, water this deep and the sharks that tall, like with the fin. Yeah. So they're searching for turtles, are they? Those big tiger sharks, you reckon?
Yeah, well, a lot of those flats there where the crabs are, the turtles come up in there as well. Turtles and dugongs and things come up in there and feed. Big tiger sharks and big hammerheads, but depends where you are. Some places you see predominantly hammerheads, and they're big.
Yeah.
Like I saw a monster the other day.
Yeah.
I didn't get any footage of it because it was fairly dark in the morning still, so you wouldn't have been able to see it. But it was one of the biggest, well, probably the biggest one I've seen. It was, would have been 5-6 metres long. It was massive. Yeah, the dorsal fin of it was, 800 mil out of the water, and it was huge. So and then some of those tiger sharks, some of the other areas where the cleaner water is, they don't like the dirty water. So. And here's a trick for you: if you're out there fishing or something like that, and you do see a big tiger shark just cruising around, you want to get a bit of footage of it or something like that, or get a photo of it. If you do just a ring around the shark, sort of in the shallow water, and stir the dust up, that as long as you don't spook them too much, they won't actually swim through it.
Like treat it as a wall.
Yeah, it's almost like a wall. So if you just give them a wide berth, you don't want to run them over, but give them a wide berth, and then they'll actually sit there in there, and you can actually get a decent look at them, take photos, show your kids, whatever. So when I've shown you that a couple of times, and some of the when we see some big girls in there. So that's why we don't swim here.
One of the many reasons.
Well, I'll tell you what. This morning I seen one of the biggest box jellyfish. I was pulling a crab pot in, and as I was pulling it in, I stopped for a second. There was a big box jellyfish just going across the top. If I didn't stop, it would have bloody dragged it straight in on top of my crab pot, which wouldn't have been nice. And it stung last week actually by one. So only just got me. So. Yeah, so fishing, maybe not tomorrow, maybe the next day though. Yeah. Weather depending, we got some rain.
Today, yeah.
Yeah, some
that was a good
rain
little
came
downpour.
in, so, we don't want to be stuck out in a tropical thunderstorm.
No.
A long way from home, so.
Mate, or do you want to talk about you had a little experience one time?
Oh, mate, and the reason I say weather depending, I hate electrical storms. That's one thing. Sharks and crocodiles, jellyfish and stuff don't bother me much, but lightning is one of those things.
I have heard this story a couple of times before, but just one, before you get into it, before this event you're about to tell us about, you didn't have a problem with lightning?
Nah, never.
Okay, then this happened. All right, go for it. Yeah.
I don't like lightning, and that's because I was out fishing years and years ago now, 16, 17 years ago, something like that. I was only a young kid, like 17 or something like that maybe. Me and my brother, and we're up a small creek. And the storm's coming through, and didn't think anything of it because at that time I didn't care about lightning. But we're just cruising down this small creek, and lightning hit maybe 10, 15 metres in front of the boat as we're cruising, and just the loudest noise. I thought my eardrums were going to blow. All your hair stood up, from the static or whatever, and the electricity in the air. And because we were driving still, we went actually straight through where the lightning had hit, and it was just red hot for a second. And I just scared the absolute crap out of me. So we actually pulled up into the mangroves, and I dove straight out of the boat, straight into the mangroves, waist deep mud, climbing through the mangroves, and I was getting absolutely smashed by sandflies and mosquitoes and marsh flies.
Clinging onto the mangrove.
I didn't want to be in that metal boat, mate, out in the middle of the river. And so ever since then, I didn't like lightning since then, mate. But and it wasn't that long ago. A fellow was actually killed out off Darwin by lightning. Got hit by lightning
in the boat.
In the boat, yeah.
Oh no.
Yeah, there was another story I heard. Somebody told me a yarn from down the Daly River. Fellas, and they thought they would be okay because they're in a poly boat. They thought, no dramas, all good, and poly boat won't get hit. But fishing rods, predominantly these days, especially barrow rods, are made out of graphite, which is a very good conductor of electricity, and hit the graphite rod, and a shard of it actually went through his neck and hit his jugular, and he nearly bled out. Actually, yeah. So the line didn't have to worry about the lining directly getting him, but indirectly though, he nearly finished himself.
I reckon on some graphite rods, if you have a really close look in fine print, I think it actually says something about lightning
and power lines. Yeah. Yep.
Oh, right. All right, so we'll do a weather pending, but but usually you can dodge them. Like if you see a storm, like you can try and dodge them a little bit.
Yeah, it's more or less when they build up right over the top of you, when there's a lot of convection, and you get those big cumulonimbus clouds build really, really quickly. And anyone that's spent a bit of time in the tropics in the wet season know exactly what we're talking about. Is those, and I love this time of year. I love those thunderstorms. I love watching them build up. I just don't like being in them in a boat.
I always call them the big skyscrapers.
Yeah, and they go up to 60, 70, 80,000 feet. You can see the caps of them starting to ice up, and you see those ones. And when they're building up right on top of you, and they've got that big front on them, I showed you a video the other day of hail from one.
Yes, wow.
Some guys
Which
in the car.
You just don't get that here.
Yeah, and big hail too, So you don't want to be in a tinny
Climate change, mate. I said I wasn't going to get political.
Oh god. Yeah. So now I've got religious. No, so you don't want to be out there amongst that, especially if you're in a small city like my. Pun, for example, perfect boat for going up those little creeks zipping along the coast, like we mentioned it before, going across the Twins, and that shallow draft doesn't draw any water. Yeah. Even with us two big buffaloes in there, we can get most places, and the only problem is, it's no roof or anything like that. So in actually, what do you think would be the perfect boat for here? That's a good all-rounder that you could still do your barra fishing, but big enough to get out to the reef, kill two birds with one stone.
Yeah, well, my boat's 4.75.
Yeah.
And I reckon I'd like a little bit bigger, not too much bigger. It's crazy how some people around here, like some people sitting across from me, they just get more boats. You can go from the houseboat all the way down to the micro tinny if you don't have a boat for every occasion. But no, and there's nothing wrong with that. In a perfect world, I'd love to have a big boat for outside, and then a boat like mine on the 475 for barra fishing. But no, if you had the perfect in-betweener, I reckon somewhere around the 5.5 metre mark.
Yeah, I agree.
Something that can comfortably fish a couple of people. Like my boat, because I'm a big fella, like I can really only fish by myself or with one other person. Like you and me go out in a couple of days' time. Like if you need to get to the back of the boat and I'm at the front of the boat, and it's going to be a circus. But
yeah, and you've got kids and that as well,
so something a little bit bigger would be, I would say, ideal. Yeah, nice big outboard, probably a 90 or 115 horsepower Yami.
Yeah,
would be nice. Something that just because when it's home time, it's home time. You know what I mean? Like you want to be able to
get going.
Yeah,
especially when them big storms are rolling. Mate. Don't worry, my Yami's fairly well seen when one of them storms is up near Clacker on the way up the river.
Oh, crikey.
Yeah, I think. And do you think, because obviously you got that many options now? There's like fiberglass GRP boats, then you got aluminium boats, there's polycrafts, and then there's all these new composite boats coming out as well, which being in King Ash Bay is a good thing because you see so many different setups, whether it's boats, Toyotas, caravans,
and no one has the same setup. It's crazy, especially when camping. It's always interesting to sticky beak at people's different camps, and you always get ideas from other people. Or on a boat, someone's put their bait board on the back corner or something, and you're like, oh geez, that would work well on my boat. Stuff like that. Yeah, it's really good to sticky beak other people's setups. And
what do you reckon if you bought another boat now? Would it be a glass boat or would it be polycraft?
I like the idea of polycraft. We do have someone here that lives here that's had one for 8 years or something. She's had the boat, and there's other people who know nothing and have never owned one. Like make assumptions about it, and they say, "Oh no, it'll warp in the sun" and things like that. And I'm like, well, this boat's been here for 8 years and fished very regularly.
Yeah, how long had you really been for?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so people that have no idea shouldn't really have opinions.
Yeah, I quite like the polycrafts. Well, actually, I don't think I've ever actually been in a polycraft, but I really want to go give one a spin one day. Yeah. I'm pretty keen to have a look. Well,
next time we're up in Darwin, we should hit up Wayne from Outback Boat Hire.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. should hire one of his boats and go out on Corroboree.
Actually, that's a good idea. Actually, when I come to Darwin next and you're there, we should go and do that. Go for a ride. Actually, I've never been to Corroboree. I've lived in the Territory my whole life. I've never been to Corroboree. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, it's a beautiful spot.
So that'd be good. Yeah, because I'm quite intrigued by that because I think you get the best of everything with those because they're heavy, so you get that from what I've been told and the research I've done.
Heavier than aluminium.
Yeah, well, they're heavy, so you get that fiberglass type ride.
Yeah, like get through waves and stuff. It's got the almost like ballast, or it's that. Nothing beats the weight, yeah. So you got that mass there, so going through small chop and things like that. And we're talking smaller boats, not talking massive boats. We're talking, 4, 5, 6, 7 metre boats sort of thing. Yeah. But so you've got that sort of that weight there, which gives you that more comfortable ride and sort of like a glass boat. But then you've got the durability, which is in actual fact. In a smaller boat, like if you're talking like a 4 metre tinny compared to a 4 metre polycraft, the polycraft's going to be way tougher than it. And the other thing is if you bump into something like you're cruising down, you bump into a tree or something like that, or a snag or something like that. Like you don't have to worry about getting things scratched. Yeah. Even if you do hit something, it's not going to dent like aluminium. Yeah. And then worst case scenario, even if you say you drop it off the trailer onto the ramp or something like that, and you scratch all the plastic up, I mean it's pretty thick anyway, so you don't have to worry too much about that. But even if it's the side of the boat or something that gets a big cut in or whatever, you can actually poly weld them as well, and you don't need any special tools. You need a heat gun which you can buy from any hardware store. Yeah. So if you punched a hole in it.
Yeah, you just poly weld it yourself at home. With a little bit of practice, you just get some poly bloody bits of poly and a heat gun and weld them up.
Yeah, wow. Yeah, so I reckon, they're definitely worth a look. It's. I'd love to get a slightly bigger boat. Yeah, maybe next year. Yeah.
Well, it's not far off, mate.
Yeah, true.
I'll ring Normie and tell him what do you want for Christmas. You go down to see your parents for Christmas, eh?
Yeah, heading down southeast Queensland for Christmas. We actually booked flights and paid for flights. We're actually going to get a credit for them, and we're actually going to drive down. My wife and I came up with this idea to drive down through southeast from here to Queensland and
through west. So basically from Darwin you'll go down the Stewart Highway down to Three Ways just north of Tennant Creek.
Yeah.
And then you'll go from there across to
Barclay, Camberwell.
Yeah, Barclay.
Mount Isa, Cloncurry, all that. I'm not sure which way we'll go from there. Whether we go down through from Barclayholden down to Blackhall, Tambo, or across to.
Through Emerald to
so I'm not sure which way, but I'll probably post it on my socials because the idea is we reckon, we'll put it this way, I'd say we get a lot of orders for our merch. We've been selling a lot of hats, a lot of shirts from my fishing YouTube channel, and I would say even though we've had orders from all over Australia, we've actually had orders now from New Zealand, Canada, the US and the UK. But I would say 4 out of every 5 orders is from Queensland. So we're using that information. My wife was actually the one that came up with the idea and said, how about we drive down for Christmas, and then on my socials do a little quick video saying, all right guys, tomorrow we're going to be driving through Mount Isa and Cloncurry. Just send us a message, and if you want to come and say good day and meet me and buy a shirt and
share your beer.
Yeah,
share your can of Morgans.
Realistically, we'll probably meet up at we've got my kids with me, so we'll probably meet up at a park or something.
Yeah, local bakery.
Yeah, definitely the local bakery. Tell me which one's the best pies in town. I'm always after the best pie in town. So I was thinking, that's not. I think it'll go all right. Sell a couple of shirts on the way. Might give me a bit of fuel money, and go down and visit some family and friends down southeast Queensland. Yeah, and then then come back up early next year and probably start doing my trips down here again straight away, and
I'll try and get that sort of well, obviously we'll be right in the middle of the wet season then, so we might try and get some not that we get any runoff here like the Daly and stuff like that, but we do get very particular runoffs here, so like one small creek might run off for a day or two, and you've really got to be Johnny on the spot to hit it. Unlike the Daly or the Moyle,
which can run for months.
Which will run, or the Adelaide, or any of those any of those sort of places that run for ages. stages. Ours only run for basically if you've had a big low come through or several big storms come through for several days. Then you get a bit of a runoff, but it's only very, very local to that area. So
like literally to individual creeks.
So I'm thinking when you get back, we might try and target that $1 million fish, mate. This $1 million fish campaign still alive and well, and somebody's definitely going to get the $1 million barra this year, and it could be us.
What season is it up to now?
I think it was season 9.
Yeah, that's a long time now.
I think it's season 9.
Yeah.
Don't quote me on that, but yeah, it's definitely it's 8 or 9 or something like that. Yeah, it's not 10 yet. I think it's 9, but like I think how many they've caught? I don't know. They've caught quite a few barra already this year.
Yeah, I reckon they just keep ticking along nicely. Like every week or two, you see another one pop up on the socials that someone's got themselves 10 grand.
Yeah, the $1 million one hasn't gone off yet, and they've guaranteed it'll go off this year. So I'm not sure how they're going to work that out if the actual tagged $1 million fish isn't caught.
Yeah.
But
when is it? It goes on the exact opposite of like the pro barra fishing season.
Net fishing, yeah. So I think it finishes at the end of Feb or the end of March.
Okay. So we've
double check that.
Yeah. So we've got time to try and get it. Because they release them all over the Northern Territory. Like they've definitely released them here, haven't they?
Yeah.
MacArthur.
Well, see, during the
there's 2 have been caught on MacArthur.
Yeah. One in Borroloola. At the crossing there.
Yeah.
One of my old stomping grounds, and then another one down the Davies down here. So
Davies, cool.
Yeah. So there's a couple have been caught here previously, but I mean we did have some concerns from the club that potentially there wasn't any here because during the pandemic, obviously they still ran that competition, but. They still ran the competition, but they couldn't get anyone because we were in a biosecurity area for part of it. And things,
so they couldn't physically come down here to take fish.
There was some issues around that. So, but I did make some inquiries before this season opened up and just double checked it, and I was spoken to all the appropriate people, and they assure me they've absolutely been down here. They've tagged fish here, mate. So. We could be it.
Might as well be us. And that time of year, there'll be no one else fishing for them. So.
Yeah. If there's no podcast after about February.
It's because we bought a helicopter.
I'll just get better. That'll be it. Yeah, so...
if the studio, if it goes from this to like a $1 million studio, you know what's happened.
If the ocean's behind us or something like that. If we're sitting on a big boat, a big marlin boat. Actually, them boys caught a marlin. The last episode we spoke about, them boys caught a big black marlin.
Yeah.
How about them other guys were talking to
not
the
2
other
days later,
Yeah, they come back in with a big sailfish.
Yeah.
So, did they show you a photo?
They did show me the photo, we can confirm. The story kept changing a little bit, but they were...
They're a bit sheepish about giving away locations.
They were, yeah. At first it was the top of North, then next it was the top of West, then the next it was the top of Andelin, and then... I think they went wide. I think they went out towards some remote bommies out there.
Yeah, well, there's that much country out there, and if you, as we mentioned, like in our last episode, there's just so much country out there that you can get sailfish, marlin, mackies, tuna, all that stuff, for miles up and down the coast. You look when you came up with me last year and we went right down the coast when you made that big YouTube video, Mudcrabs, and we were coming back in the workboat, and it's a 2-hour ride, 3-hour ride, and you look at that sounder screen and it's like non-stop for 2 hours is just bommies.
Some people are markers, like if they see anything interesting, they'll hit the mark button. And if you're a marker, you would have a lot of dots on the screen after just driving up and back there.
Pretty much have a track the whole way up the coast because there's just that much good country.
Yeah.
And it's because it's not sheltered up in that direction, like up to our west. It's not sheltered by the islands so much. So very few people even go up there.
Yeah, it does get rough. Like
if it's windy, it gets rough.
Yeah. So you either need to not be a sook like me, or have a nice big boat that can probably handle a bit of chop. Yeah. If you wanted to go up there, I reckon.
Yeah, or pick your days as well.
Yeah.
I mean, we do get some good days. I mean, although this year's been. We
had that as a talking point. Like the weather, it's been the windiest season I can remember. I've been coming here for 10 plus years, 12 years. I lived here for 10, but 12 years I've been coming here, and this is the windiest. Like, what's meant to be the month with the least wind?
Well, I mean, I mentioned like the swing season, so between the wet season and the dry season, whether it's at the end of the dry season coming into the wet season, where everything slows down, or the other, vice versa. So the end of the wet season coming into the dry season. Like I tend to find that like August can be a really good one.
Yeah, it wasn't this year.
It wasn't this year, no.
It was windy.
It's been pretty windy, right through. Very early in the year, like in March, I reckon we had quite a few good days in March. But, you know, only in the mornings though, like that wind picks up, because what happens is like how the weather works here for us is whenever there's a big, so particularly the dry season, in the dry season, you get a big high pressure system sitting down on the bight, so the Great Australian Bight down the bottom, and basically that just pushes everything across to the east, and then that wind comes flying straight up the east coast, right up, you know, past Victoria, New South Wales, up to the Cape, then cuts across the Cape and comes straight across the Gulf as a southeasterly. And so we get those big southeasterlies predominantly right through the
whole dry season.
The dry season, and that's
a direct result from what's happening in the Great Australian Bight, all the way down below South Australia and West Australia down there.
So you know, like you know, when I was guiding, doing reef trips and things like that, like I'd know if there's several highs lined up in a row that are all sort of rotating. You know, they're coming into the Bight, going through down past Tassie. Another one comes in from West Australia into the Bight. You know, you're going to keep getting those southeasterlies, and the further apart those isobars are, the bigger the winds are going to be, you know. So, and then, you know, conversely, in the wet season, it's the other way around. We get the northwesterlies.
Yeah.
So, and that's the trade winds, because, like, as you know, where we are here, and some of the listeners may know that. So, Aboriginal people, many hundreds of years ago, well and truly before European settlement, used to trade with Macassans. So Makassar is up sort of near. Is it in the Banda Sea maybe around Indonesia sort of area?
Yeah.
And so they used to travel from there in sailboats, obviously before engines or anything like that. So they'd come down in their sailboats and they'd use those monsoon winds at the end of the wet season, so those northwesterlies, and they'd come right across the top of the Northern Territory down into the Gulf of Carpentaria.
So they start like to Darwin but down into the Gulf.
Yep. Well, they'd start way north of Darwin, obviously up the, you know, around, I think it's around the Banda Sea sort of area where Makassar is. Sorry, my geography's not 100%.
Yeah.
It's up around Indonesia sort of thing anyway. But they used to come down from there, and it's almost directly southeast for them to travel. And they used to take those northeasterly winds, come all the way down into the bottom of the Gulf. And then they would trade with Aboriginal people here, and they would collect trepang.
That's the sea cucumbers.
Yeah, sea cucumbers or sea slugs.
Yeah, wow.
So they would collect those, and then there are some places now where there are some remnants where they used to have fires and things, because my understanding is they used to collect them all. So basically, they live on the shallow sand mud flats.
Yeah.
They look like a big sausage type, bloody big cucumber. And that's what obviously sea cucumber.
Yeah.
And then I think they'd boil them up and then dry them out and then package them. And then they would, when the southeasterlies would start kicking in.
Oh, of course.
Massive big southeasterlies, you know, 15, 20, 25 knots. They'd load the boats up and then ride those southeasterlies all the way back to the northwest, back up to Makassar, and sell them. So, and they used to trade with Aboriginal people back in the day. And I think, there's all sorts of remnants around, so they know what happens. And and that's why we have tamarind trees on the islands and things like that around here, and a lot of places. There's a lot of tamarind trees because they use the tamarind fruit as part of the processing of the trepang.
Yeah, I didn't know that. Okay.
Yeah, so I mean,
I reckon in the museum at East Point in Darwin. Mm-hmm. Sorry, not East Point. The one that's near Darwin High School. Can't think of the suburb name, but right near, just behind Darwin High, near the sailing club, is a museum there.
Oh, it's Darwin Museum.
Darwin Museum, yeah. I reckon there's not inside the museum, but behind it, there's another special edition onto it, which is a huge, big warehouse style thing, and they've actually got some of these boats in there.
Yeah.
I don't think they're replicas either. They don't quote me on that. They could be, but I don't think they're replicas. And it even tells like each boat has a story on it, and I'm sure there's one from this area.
Yeah, how big are they? Well, I've never been in there and seen how big are they?
Oh, over 10 metres. They range in size. Some are small.
Yeah.
but some will be over 10 metres.
And so what do they look like in terms of, so have they got
they're all wooden.
Well, yeah, so they're wood, have they got like a cabin, so an inside section, or are they all just open down?
Yeah, the big ones definitely do, yeah. So from memory, I've only been there once or twice, but yeah, from memory, like the front of the boat's sort of fairly open with high sides on it, but I think at the back, yeah, it's like what you'd see in, I suppose, any Asian harbour, to a certain extent. Like even though it's hundreds of years old, like the technology for some of these wooden boats hasn't changed.
Like sort of big square sails, or like a Chinese junk.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
Sail.
Yeah, it's a lot like that. A lot like that. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, so I mean, can you imagine being back in the day and travelling like all the way from, like I've flown to Bali a few times. Imagine sailing in a rickety wooden leaky boat for months on end.
Even their navigation, they'll just keep going until they ran into land. They wouldn't know.
I suppose that's why they call them the trade winds, because you get into them, you don't have to do any steering, and that's why they were able to utilise those sails, because they could only sail, I believe, again, don't quote me on it, but I believe they could only sail with the wind. Obviously, modern sailboats and things now, you can sail actually against the wind, and actually it's faster to go against the wind. Yeah. But back in the day, they could only go which way the wind was blowing. That was it.
Yeah. YouTube channel, I don't know if you still watch it, you got me onto it, Sailing Le Vagabond.
Oh, yeah,
big YouTube channel with Elena and Riley. He did a little quick tutorial thing on how, because he spoke about the boat going faster than the wind speed.
Yep.
I'm like, no, I'm a smart guy. He couldn't possibly go faster than the wind speed. But no, just basically say when you go sideways slightly sideways, the wind's going. He explains it well. Go watch the channel. It's almost like using like Pythagoras being the hypotenuse speed, like because you're travelling further in a straight line.
Because obviously you've got a couple of different things. You've got your water speed or your vessel speed, and your wind speed. So you say if your wind speed's 10 knots, as you're travelling across the wind, you're increasing the boat speed, which also increases the wind speed as the boat sees it. So
So to go from bottom to top, 10 metres. If you're going in that direction at 10 kilometres an hour, but you're going that way, you've actually travelled further than 10 metres, travelling 10 kilometres an hour. So you're going faster than 10 kilometres, you know what I mean?
Don't fall asleep while you're driving, guys. Something like that.
It all makes sense, and it's actually really interesting, which is why we're talking about it. But anyway, let's move on.
Go and watch the YouTube channel. And,
in the notes there that you've written, I didn't hear about this one, the boat sunk.
Yeah, I was only just reading something last night. Boat sunk. A fellow put a post up there on one of the fishing pages in Darwin saying if anyone finds any of his gear around Cape Hotham. So the boat sunk on the 21st of November.
Yeah.
So he's missing everything. But obviously.
But it's just that it was just him on board, or
I'm not sure. It didn't go into great detail about it, but it was obviously fairly substantial. I did see another post about somebody saying that an EPIRB, like one of their relatives, EPIRB had gone off, and if anyone had been out fishing, to in that area to let them know. And then I read a separate post about a boat sunk, and they got rescued, and they said everyone was okay. So I'm guessing there's no major things.
Yeah,
so
just definitely make sure you have that.
Yeah, well, that was going to be actually a good segue into, and we talked about storms and things earlier and winds and stuff like that. This time of year is a really important thing. We spoke about like a few tips for people travelling here. This time of year, make sure, you should always have your EPIRB, your flares. We spoke about that after Tremaine's story in the last episode. But like this time of year especially, because you can go out in the morning, like this morning, it was an absolute glass off. As far as you could see, it was an absolute glass off. But then, around lunchtime, these massive big storms build up, and if you're out on the ocean somewhere, even in a big boat, even if you're in a 7, 8, 9 metre boat, some of these storms that they can have 150 plus km/h winds.
And the waves aren't just going one direction. It's not like they'll be a wash machine. You can't just go into it, No,
and there's very little you can do, and it can be very, very dangerous. So make sure you've got your EPIRB and make sure it's registered and in date. Test it regularly.
An important one I'm at fault with this as well. In the event of an emergency, my EPIRB is not in a convenient spot to grab.
Yeah, well, and a lot of people that have sunk boats before will tell you that, make sure you fix that up.
Yeah.
Because
if you need it, like
it'll happen so quick.
You're going to need it, and at the point that you need it, you're going to have not a lot of time.
No, that's exactly right.
Oh.
So what I do with mine is I've got a, and they're fairly cheap now, similar to a Pelican case, just a knockoff version of it.
Yep.
I think I bought it from Bunnings or something like that maybe. It was $80-90. But obviously it floats, it's waterproof, and I've got all my flares in there. And what I've actually done is I've packaged all my flares into cryovac bags and then cryovac them and sealed them so they don't roll around and rub all the paint and instructions and things off them, so they're in there nice and tight.
Brilliant, yeah.
And I've done it so that you can still see the dates on them. So if you get pulled over, they need to check them. You don't have to cut your bloody the plastic open, the cryovac bag open, which I learned because I did it the wrong way the first time. So I learned from my mistakes. But that stops them just rolling around and scratching the instructions off them, because I've seen so many of them now get pulled out of people's boats and to be inspected, and all the instructions are worn off because they've just been bouncing around in a plastic bucket somewhere. So that's a good idea. And my EPIRB, and I've got a heap of safety gear, I've got survival type gear in that one box which floats.
Yeah.
So in the event that something catastrophic happens, like you hit a wave funny and the boat flips or something like that.
Yeah, just get the box.
It'll float, and where it sits under a hatch, the hatch will be able to come up. So I've got my life jackets stored directly with that, and so that's the first thing I can get to. As soon as I lift the hatch up, it's right there, the handle's right there, I can pull it straight out, and that's got all the important stuff in it. So, and here, like we talked about tiger sharks and all that sort of stuff, box jellyfish, I would rather have that one box that floats with my EPIRB in it and flares than a life jacket.
Yeah.
Because you want to get that thing, if you're in the water here, you want to get that EPIRB fired up straight away as quick as possible.
Oh, was this going to take time?
Absolutely. So we've had an EPIRB went off here a couple of years ago. It was, a massive, not a massive, but a substantial cyclone was coming into the Gulf, and the guy decided he was going to go for a fish, and before packing up and leaving King Ash Bay completely.
Yeah, right, yeah.
And he went out that morning, and just so happens his batteries died on his boat. He had several batteries in the boat because he had a Minn Kota and fridge and everything like that. But he couldn't get all of his batteries died for some reason. There was some electrical issue, and he couldn't get his engine started. And then this storm front started rolling in, and the wind picked up, and then all of a sudden he's taken on water and couldn't go anywhere. So so he's had to let his EPIRB off, and it took a few hours for they actually got a jet with over the horizon radar. So the big jet with the big sort of disc on the roof. Yeah, one of those jets actually flew over King Ash Bay at about, I don't know, it would have been 150 feet, I reckon.
Wow.
Yeah, through a storm. He came straight over the top of King Ash Bay. But yeah, he actually came over, found him, and then the Care Flight helicopter came from Darwin. I think it came from Darwin or Catherine, all the way down here, and then hovered over the boat until the police were able to get there.
Okay, yeah.
And once the police got there, they were able to tow him back in.
Do they have the facility to winch people if they had to?
The helicopter, yeah, for sure, yeah. And they do it all the time.
Yeah.
You see it. And in actual fact, this boat that was mentioned off Cape Hop, I think that one may have been winched from that one. I'm not 100% sure. I did read about one just the other day that happened. I'm not sure if it was the same one or not, but I did read about them winching people to safety from that. So, but obviously, you don't want to be in that position.
No.
Yeah, it's and very expensive stuff up.
Yeah.
So and I think if you go out and you haven't got all your stuff right, or you've gone out in conditions where you really shouldn't have gone, you may be prosecuted as well, and you might have to pay some of that money back. And I'm pretty sure that jet and helicopter isn't cheap.
Yeah, righty.
So you don't want to be you don't want to be out there then. So nearly at the end of this season, but. Next season, 2024, something else I was reading I've read it several times now on several of the pages, is a lot of places looking for fishing guides for the 2024 season. So I'm not sure.
Not here, like just
not at King Ash Bay, but just around the territory. There's several different establishments several different businesses that are currently looking for guides for 2024. So if you young and keen, especially if you're young, keen and single, go and do your Coxswain ticket. It doesn't take that long to do your Coxswain ticket. It's not overly expensive. You know, as long as you can read and write, you'll be able to get through it, you know, with a bit of help. Go to your Coxswain ticket if you're keen on doing it. It's a great industry to get into. You know, especially if you've got ideas of having your own business or something like that. It'd be a great thing to go and learn off some of these excellent operators around the territory. You know, get a Coxswain ticket, go out and, you know, decky for someone for a bit, learn the ropes. If you're young and keen, go and do your Coxswain ticket. You can do them in Darwin now. Smith does them in Darwin Seafood Maritime Industries training. You know, I did mine through them about 15 or so years ago, 14 years ago or something. So
and that can lead to all sorts of different things.
For
qualification
sure.
like that.
Yeah, so you do your Coxswains, and that's sort of your. And if you do a full open Coxswains, that allows you to operate a vessel up to 12 metres. But basically any of your guiding stuff in the territory, you're mostly like barra guiding or even coastal reef fishing and stuff like that. Mostly sort of 5 to 8 metre boat sort of thing, and you know, you're generally speaking working by yourself. So, but if you really love your fishing and you're
spending time on the water,
and because there's so many great places that you just cannot get to unless you are doing a job like this. So, you know, all through Arnhem Land and some of the island communities and things like that, mostly on Aboriginal land as well. So, you know, no one else really gets the opportunity unless you're paying big dollars to go out there as a customer. But you can go there and get paid to, you know, chase some awesome fish in some awesome locations. So, you know, if you ever thought about it, you know, finishing school this year even, go to your Coxswain ticket. You know, still used to doing some study and stuff. Go to your Coxswain ticket and have a look at that, because there's so many opportunities at the moment. And if I was just finished my Coxswain ticket, you know, when I was 19 or whatever, 18 or 19, and these opportunities were available, I'd be jumping on it straight away, you know, because there's so many places I'd love to go and have a fish at.
And it's seasonal as well. Well, so certainly some of the barra sort of style ones would be seasonal. So it's not as if you're committing 2 years of your life to something.
No, that's it.
It'll just be a few months at a time, or, you know.
Yeah, and the thing is at the moment, like, there's so many jobs available in it. Like you could, you know, from right around the territory, and no doubt interstate and stuff as well. But right around the territory, there's a lot of jobs available for all different sorts of fishing operations. So if you're keen, have a look at that and get amongst it. Yeah, so Christmas, mate, you're heading down south?
Yeah. So
got to drive down. So
what about you, mate?
I'm still sort of undecided. I've got to go to Darwin just before Christmas and take Katie up so she can fly down to see her family. She doesn't get to see them all that much, so she goes down there for Christmas for a couple of months, 6 or 8 weeks or so. I'm probably going to stay here, try and work up until Christmas, get some things cleaned up before the cyclone season really kicks in.
Good idea.
Try and get a lot of my crap cleaned up because I've got shit everywhere. Try and get some things sorted, and then I'm not drinking or anything, like I mentioned earlier, so for a few months. So, I'm saving myself money. A big trip planned for next year. So, end of Feb, going over to Vegas.
Oh, I'm so jealous.
Yeah, so going to go watch the NRL over there and hopefully the boxing.
Oh, the Zoo Boys.
Yeah, so we only just watched young Nikita last night, and that was an epic fight too.
Oh, we loved it. Yeah.
So,
Jeez, that was a good fight. The first round, he was gone.
Oh, yeah, well, he got dropped in the first round. Nikita got dropped in the first round. So, I was a bit nervous there for a second, and then came back, and in the fourth, I don't know how he stood up. Hardman stood up.
Biggs.
Biggs Hardman.
Yeah, he's a tough fella. 21 years old, and he took some shots, man.
He got mate, absolutely flogged.
Yeah, he'd have a headache today.
Oh, for sure, mate. He never saw guts today, I reckon.
He's got a good with the final shot.
That big body shot.
Yeah.
That straight in his liver. That would have really hurt. So, no, I'm super keen to get over to the States and watch the NRL. So watch the Broncos play, and then really hoping that the Zoo Boys are putting something on in Vegas. So I know they're trying to work on it. Yeah. They are really trying to make it happen there. So that'd be really good to see.
You worked out it's the week after the Super Bowl.
I think it's just Super Bowl's obviously just before we go there, and the Super Bowl's in Vegas this year also, and next year as well.
Yeah,
so,
all right.
Allegiant Stadium.
So
I think
might still be some people around.
Oh well, I think it should be pretty busy, mate.
Oh yeah.
The Broncos are playing, so no doubt there'll be a bloody shitload of bogans from Brisbane. See how these Queensland that. So,
I wish I was one of them.
Me included. So,
oh man.
So pretty keen to have a look at that, mate. Going to go to Nashville for a week. Taking the old boy over, actually. Yeah. So that's why we're going to Nashville.
He hasn't left the Northern Territory in a while, so to take him overseas, it's going to be a bit of a culture shock for him.
Well, it is. Yeah. Well, we took him to Europe a few years ago with the whole family, but with about 16 or 17, it was something like that for about 3 or 4 weeks. But this trip's just me, my brother, and my old man. So I'm going to go over, watch the Broncos play. Hopefully, the boxing's going to happen, and get amongst that. A few days in Nashville, checking out the Grand Ole Opry, things like that, and then to Vegas for about a week, and run amok.
Either come back with no money or a millionaire. That's what had happened to me.
No.
It'd be too dangerous for me in Vegas, man.
No, Kate would kill me if I spent too much money, mate. So Kate unfortunately can't come because that is the start of our season. So the end of February, early March.
But when the lodge starts filling up with all the fishermen coming up.
Yeah, and then 2024 is just absolutely jam-packed with customers. So it's looking like it's going to be a really, really big tourist season next year.
So that's the King Ash Bay Lodge. And then there's, I think Waiibi Lodge out at the Islands. I think Brett's got a big year coming up because they've expanded their accommodation out there too.
Yeah, they've got the bottom house up and going, and they've gone green now, mate. They got the solar happening. He's very excited about. Actually, I'm excited about it. I was out there a little while back, and it's just so good now. Pull up at night time there and go for a camp, and there's no generator running in the background. Cool. It's just dead quiet, and it's really good out there. So it's going to be a massive 2024 season, hopefully. It's sort of looking that way.
Yeah.
So, anything else you want to add, mate?
Oh, no, we'll still get another podcast out before the end of 2023.
Yeah, for sure, mate. Yep.
Yeah, sure.
Hopefully we'll try and get them up every week. We'll be separated for about 4 weeks, 3 or 4 weeks, depending on how long you stay down south for. But we'll try and do our best to get
one every week.
One every week. Yeah.
Yeah. Awesome.
Yeah. There may be 1 or 2 weeks over Christmas New Year period when you're down south and I'm out here where we might not be able to get it done, but we'll see what we can do anyway.
Try our best.
We'll try our best. If we get some good content happening, we'll see how we go with it.
Yeah. So remember to check out the new YouTube channel, the Facebook page. If you're interested, check out Patreon.
If you're interested.
It just feels weird asking for money.
I tell you, as soon as we get some people in there, mate, we're going to we'll work something out. We'll get some prize packs or something like that.
Yeah, that's the go. And that's why we have Patreon.
And obviously the idea of doing this is not for us to go and we don't want to be making a fortune. We're not making our living out of this. Is something that we enjoy talking about, and we'd be doing this down the pub anyway. So, but obviously there's a lot of things that we want to do to improve this. So, like at the moment, we're using pretty much all of Mikey's stuff. All the voice recording and everything. The room's fairly dodgily set up to try and get that echo out of it, which we noticed in the first.
I'll do a short snippet of us talking, like right now, with my voice, talking with how the room actually sounds without using enhancement. So this is what the room sounds like without enhancement compared to this, which is now with the enhancement on. So
not to mention we've got blankets and all of Jazzy's laundries hanging up on microphone stands and stuff around the place. So if we if we can generate a little bit of revenue from it, the first thing we'll be doing is making an area which we can have set up all the time as a proper studio. Trying to improve our gear a little bit, so that we're actually talking with more professional microphones that are set up for doing this sort of thing. So we obviously, if we make anything out of it, they'll just get better and better, and we'll be able to put out more content. So that's the idea. We just want to be able to do it and get amongst it. Yeah,
sounds good, mate. All right, want to shut it down?
Shut it down, Russ.
Shut it down.
Oh, look at that.
Guys in the Golf.